All right, well, thank you, you three, for the session today. I really appreciate you coming out, and hopefully you learned some things, hopefully it was a gentle introduction to the game of golf. So I just want to cover the things that we talked about throughout the course of our session today, so you have it in one place. If you want to go back and review it and be like, what did we talk about again? We'll have it all in one place. So we started obviously with the grip, which is really the most important thing that we do as we play golf. It's our only connection to the golf club. Obviously our body can influence the club, but really our hands, the way they're holding onto it's extremely important. So I started off kind of introducing it by holding it in our right hand first, because our left hand is the first thing that's going to contact the golf club. It's the best way to start our grip. Again, we want to make sure that the club is running through our fingers in that way. So starting from the top of our pinky finger to the kind of edge of our index finger, and then making sure that our thumb, if we can, gets it just slightly on this side of the shaft. Then for some of you, you found it was most comfortable to have all 10 fingers on the grip. So from there, we'll place the rest of our hands around it. Again, importantly, if we can, through kind of the fingers of that club there, that'll help you get the maximum amount of flexibility with our hands to make the club move the way that we want to. For some of you, it was more comfortable to overlap, which is also totally fine. And then I tried to teach you all the interlock, but it didn't take very well. Usually that's the most straightforward way to do it, but it didn't seem like it was a good fit. Again, for people with perhaps smaller and shorter fingers, that can be a bit less comfortable. So hopefully I think this is perhaps the way that you'll end up for most of you. Okay, so that's the grip. We started over there at our short game area, doing our chipping and pitching. And again, the priorities here, ball basically in the middle of our stance, feet not as far apart, so they're a little bit closer together. Club sitting comfortably on the ground. What we're looking for here is that our hands and arms extended right below our shoulders there. And then again, we're just making kind of a small swing back and through. The important thing that I want to emphasize though, it is not just our hands and arms that moves the club. It never is in golf, okay? We want to feel like there's a little bit of our chest turning back and turning through this way on the way through. Even though it's such a small swing, we can still make a small swing back and through this way, and send it without too much effort, without that kind of flipping that can cause some of the bad shots we experience. All right, then we came over here and started hitting some full shots. Again, not too different from our setup. That grip is going to be just the same. We're still going to get our hands and arms right below our shoulders. And then I'm going to encourage all of you to make sure we might make that nice full swing. I talked a little bit about the pizza pan position of our right hand, right? Feeling as though we have a pizza there that we're kind of resting our right arm under. Just to encourage you to make this full swing through. It's very natural for golfers as they start to use a little bit too much of their hands and arms to try and manipulate the club. We want to feel like it's connected to our body. So for this shot, we want to feel like we turn our chest back nice and through, and then our chest back and through that way. That's how we can create maximum power. We hit a little bit with our hybrid as well towards the end of our session. We experienced the difference between the length of that club and the shorter club, how it can be a little bit more difficult, but we'll get more into that in our next session. And I think that's about everything we talked about today. So thank you so much for the session.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Any questions or anything that I didn't address as we went along? Hopefully we did more or less, but
No, I think so.
fabulous.
Yeah.
And what was the number of the club that you're supposed to measure? Number 1, right?
The driver.
Driver.
Yep. Are you thinking about investing in a set for yourself?
Yeah.
Is that? Yeah. So I mean, I think you don't need to splash a whole bunch of cash unless you want to, right? It's fun to get a new set of clubs as well, but a used set would be totally appropriate. Something similar to these, where you'll get. I think what would be a priority is for you to at least get a driver. If you can, probably one fairway wood. A hybrid's pretty important. The hybrid tends to be like an all-purpose utility club, particularly for golfers that are relative beginners. You'll end up with a lot of shots where you're kind of a long ways away from the green, and they can be really useful that way. And then just at least like a 6-iron, 7-iron, 8-iron, 9-iron pitching wedge, and then one lofted wedge, so a sand wedge or another like gap wedge, and a putter. And that should do everything you might need.
That's 12.
I think that is, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so 14 is the maximum. But, that's kind of what would comprise a full set for me.
Okay. Thank you.
Fabulous. Well, we can get going. So that's all you got from me. You can just